ये स्क्रिप्ट तैयार की है राकेश वर्मा ने। आर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज सो मच मोर देन जस्ट अ बिग बुक ऑफ रूल्स. Think of it as a promise that protects our dignity, our freedom, and ensures that every single one of us is valued. Today, we're going to dive deep into two of the most powerful promises it makes: the right to be free from exploitation and the freedom to believe.
Just take a second and really imagine that. It's a horrible thought, right? So what's the barrier? What stands in the way of these kinds of injustices? Well, the answer is our Constitution. It acts like a powerful shield, woven right into the fabric of our country to protect us all.
So, let's take a closer look at this shield. We're kicking things off with a right against exploitation, covered in Articles 23 and 24. And believe me, these aren't just dry legal clauses. They're incredibly powerful statements about the value of every single human life.
First up, we have Article 23. This one sends a crystal clear message. A human being can never be treated like property. It puts a direct, powerful ban on the buying and selling of people, what we call human trafficking, and any kind of forced labor. It's a direct attack on the very idea that one person can own or control another.
Now, our Constitution uses a very specific Hindi word here, bigar. This isn't just a simple term for forced work. It actually refers to a very old, very cruel system in our society where people, especially from vulnerable communities, were made to work for free. By calling it out by name and banning it, the Constitution was tackling a centuries-old injustice head-on.
So you can think of Article 23 as a kind of triple lock on your personal dignity. It bans human trafficking, it bans begar, and it bans any other similar kind of forced labor. And here's the really crucial part. This shield protects you not just from the government, but from other private citizens too.
So, the bottom line is this. Article 23 is our constitutional guarantee that you are not a tool. It makes sure that no matter your economic or social situation, you can never be exploited for someone else's gain. It protects the very core of what it means to be human.
Okay, now let's switch gears and focus on just one number, 14. This number is so important because it represents a line, a sacred line drawn by our Constitution to protect something incredibly precious: childhood. And that number brings us straight to Article 24. This article is all about protecting the promise of childhood. It makes a simple but incredibly powerful declaration. No child under the age of 14 can be put to work in a factory, a mine, or any other dangerous job, period.
Now, there's a really important detail to understand here. The Constitution doesn't ban all work for kids under 14. The laser focus is on hazardous work, jobs that could physically or mentally harm a child, like working in a mine or a firecracker factory. Things that are non-hazardous, like maybe helping out in the family shop after school, are regulated but not completely banned.
And our courts have been vital in figuring out what hazardous actually means. In a famous case called the Aziad workers case, the Supreme Court made it clear that construction work is definitely a hazardous job. This decision brought millions more children under the protection of Article 24. It's a great example of how these rights are alive and always evolving.
Okay, so we've seen how the Constitution protects our physical dignity from being exploited. But what about our inner world? Our beliefs, our faith, our conscience? Well, that brings us right to Part 2, India's promise of harmony through the right to freedom of religion. Before we get into the specific articles, we need to understand the one big idea that holds them all together: secularism. Now, in India, secularism doesn't mean no religion, not at all. It means the government stays neutral. It doesn't have an official religion, and it treats all faiths with equal respect. This is the absolute foundation for keeping harmony in such a diverse country.
The Constitution lays this all out beautifully across 4 articles. A great way to remember them is to think of them as the 4 pillars of religious freedom. They cover your personal freedom, freedom for religious groups, freedom from religious taxes, and making sure our schools stay neutral. Let's look at each one.
The first pillar, Article 25, is all about you. It's your personal freedom. It gives you the freedom of conscience, which is the right to believe in anything you want, and the freedom to profess, practice, and even share your religious beliefs. But this right isn't unlimited. It can be restricted if it harms public order, morality, or health.
So from the individual person, we zoom out to the group. The second pillar, Article 26, gives religious communities and groups the freedom to manage their own affairs. This means they can set up their own institutions, own property, and run things according to their own beliefs.
Let me ask you a question. When you pay taxes, that money is used for roads, for defense, for public hospitals, right? But can the government take that money and use it to promote one particular religion? Well, thanks to our Constitution, the answer is a big, fat no. And that brings us to Article 27.
The secret here is understanding the difference between a tax and a fee. Article 27 says the government can't force you to pay a tax to promote a religion, but it can charge a fee to a religious group for a specific service. For example, providing special police security for a big festival. The key is the purpose. Taxes are for everyone, fees are for a specific service you get. And the fourth and final pillar, Article 28, takes this idea of neutrality right into our schools. For any school that is completely funded by the government, the rule is simple and strict. No religious instruction can be given. This ensures that our public schools remain secular spaces for every single child.
But what about schools that get some money from the government but aren't fully state-run? Well, here the Constitution brings in a very important idea: consent. In these schools, religious instruction might be offered, but it has to be 100% voluntary. No student can ever be forced to attend without their permission or their parents' permission.
Wow. So we've journeyed from the shield that protects you from being exploited all the way to the 4 pillars that hold up your religious freedom. So let's wrap this up, because knowing these rights is not just for an exam, it's real power in your hands. All right, here's a super quick, rapid-fire recap. Article 23 bans forced labor. Article 24 bans hazardous child labor. Article 25 is your personal religious freedom. Article 26 is for religious groups. Article 27 means no religious taxes. And Article 28, it keeps government schools neutral. Got it? Good. And this is what I really want you to take away today. These articles are so much more than just things to memorize. They are your tools. They are the tools that protect your dignity, your conscience, and your freedom. Truly understanding them empowers you and makes you a much stronger and more aware citizen. Knowing these rights is an amazing first step. And now that you understand the shield and the pillars that protect you, I have one last question. Are you ready to find out about the rights that protect our country's amazing cultures and guarantee our right to education? Because that's where this journey of empowerment takes us next.
So, my friends, if you found this information useful, just take 1 second to like the video, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel. Because your small supporter helps awareness-based educational videos like this
reach more learners.
And yes, do tell us in the comments which topic you want in the next video. Thank you so much. See you again in the next video with new knowledge.